Bam, we're live. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Good morning. Jessica, good morning. Jeez Louise, good morning. Who has a bad back? God, my back is strong this morning. I didn't even realize it. I take it for granted when it feels good. I know you were talking to Jeez Louise. Uh-oh. Echo. Better. Yeah, I take it for granted when I wake up and my back feels good. What's wrong with Jeez Louise? My left posterior is all jacked. I have a dull sensation from my butt cheek to my knee. Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that. Time for some toe spacers. Time for some toe spacers. Oh, I'm going to fuck you up today, Seth. I came prepared. You better brought your A game, dude.
Good morning.
I got nothing. What's wrong with me? This show is supposed to be about you, but let's talk about me. What is wrong with me? Why do I have the abortion guy on? It cannot be good. Look at, I bet you I already got a ding from YouTube for saying that word. Why do I keep this can't be good for ratings.
No, all you have to do is you have to praise it. If you celebrate child sacrifice, reproductive health care, then you're allowed to remain on big tech, you know. That's how it goes.
I told myself, I'm like, what? Why do I? So what inspired me to invite you back on is this argument you had was just amazing to this lady. You said you were coming up for reasons why. I'm going to ruin it. I'm not going to do it as good as you, but you're like, hey, let's talk about reasons why you would have an abortion. And, you know, you're like, because you want to go to law school and you're pregnant, because you can't afford the child, because the baby's got Down syndrome. And you're like basically going through the list. And then you're like, but it's a girl. And the lady's like, no, you can't kill it because it's a girl. And all of a sudden, this person drew the line on reasons why you couldn't kill a baby. And I was like, holy shit. That's got to be the most powerful thing I've ever heard. You mean every reason to kill a baby is okay, except for the fact if you wanted a boy and you're pregnant with a girl? And I was like, oh man.
Well, that's why that's why I appreciate you. I appreciate that you're willing to have good conversations and ask hard questions. And while we're kind of all over the place, probably politically and religiously, I appreciate that you believe that there is truth. And that we can kind of know it to some extent. We actually have faculties of reason. We have a rational nature. We're not just like a lion or a tiger that just like indulges every desire we have in any moment. And we can think through and talk through these things. And I appreciate you being willing to ask those questions. But yeah, so when you start rubbing up against liberal orthodoxy, let's call it, then the as I like to say, that the liberal establishment begins to collapse in on itself, kind of like a dying star. When you start going after some of their creeds and sacraments, it's hard for the position to maintain its own integrity, is how I say it. So that's why I will ask questions that kind of poke at creeds that the leftist totalitarian worldview or the liberal establishment really loves, to try to reassert the self-evident nature of the pro-life position in the person's mind. And so, yeah, I don't know which clip you're talking about, but we had one.
I tried to find it. It's from months ago. You have so much great content on your Instagram.
Well, thanks, man. But yeah, we were at one university recently, bro, and the girl was like, "Well, I disagree with using abortion as a form of birth control." She's like, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, I just think it's immoral or irresponsible." And I said, "Who are you to judge? The fetus has no right to her body anyways. So it wouldn't matter why the mom got an abortion. If the thing in the womb, which they call fetus, which is the Latin word for offspring or small child, so it's actually not dehumanizing to call the baby in the womb a fetus. It just means offspring and small child. If the fetus is not a person and doesn't have a right to life, which is the pro-choice position, and like I told you last time, bro, I kind of sense that you're not really fully on board with the whole abortion industry's positions. But
the problem is I know how to think a little bit.
That's right.
I know how to think a little bit, so it's fucking with me. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, I
But
know how to think a little bit.
you know that that's their position. Their position is the fetus has no right to life. No, their position is not. It is sometimes wrong to kill the unborn child. Their position is that there is no situation in which it's wrong to kill the unborn child. That the mother's right to bodily autonomy always trumps the child's right to life.
Right.
Or that the child, if it has have a right to life, the mother's rights always trump that right. But many times pro-abortion people will just say, no, actually the fetus has zero rights whatsoever, because they'll say it's not a person, which I always say, well, that kind of makes you sound like an 1850s Democrat. But anyways, I digress. Not the first time Democrats have said an entire class of human beings weren't persons. but that is the language that they've used. They've said the preborn is not a person in the way that we use that word in the Constitution. Hillary Clinton has said this for years, that the preborn is not a person. Roe v. Wade in 1973 said the term person as used in the Constitution does not include the unborn. So if that is their position, okay, and if that is correct, like let's grant them the benefit of the doubt, then any reason you kill them is okay. Any reason you kill them is okay, because they have no rights whatsoever. They're not
they are
one of us.
establishing that has been established legally, not right. I mean, basically in California, they're trying to make it so you could even kill the baby 1 week after it's out of the womb, and you can't question the parents on what happened to the baby.
Right. So, well,
like that's by the way, that's batshit crazy. But what I just said, in case anyone's wondering if that's true, that's 100% true. I think that's a Scott Wiener thing.
Yeah, yeah, gosh, don't get me started on him. But yeah, no, well, Newsome last year, as you'll recall, signed, I think it was Prop 1, which codified abortion through point of birth into the California state constitution. And then they had AB 2223, which you might recall, AB 2223, which had this word in it, perinatal, which was really interesting, bro. So they were saying that, so what they were doing is they were anticipating that Roe v. Wade would get overturned. Okay. So they were acting proactively. And they had this whole Future of Abortion Council. I covered it in my podcast at the time. It's called the California Future of Abortion Council, right? Because they're preparing future. What's the future of abortion? Predicting the Roe v. Wade getting overturned. And Newsome and a bunch of abortion industry groups and leftist groups had built this like over 40 numbered list of the kind of things they wanted to do legislatively and politically in California. And so they began to implement these legislatively over the last year. And they're all coming from that California Future of Abortion Council list about a year and a half ago or more. But one of those was AB 2223. And it said that it would prevent investigations into the deaths of babies due to miscarriage, abortion, or perinatal death. Perinatal, P-E-R-I, and then natal, perinatal. And you pause, right, bro? And you go, wait, what's perinatal death? When you look up the definition, and it can refer to a baby up to 28 days after birth. Up to 28 days after birth. So the word perinatal, like perinatal treatment for the child or something, could refer to the baby in the womb, still at a gestational age of development, or up to 28 days after birth. And so you scratch your head, bro, and you go, wait a second. Why do Democrats in California want to prevent investigations into the deaths of babies due to perinatal death when that could refer to infants already born?
Right.
It's like, wait, you surely Democrats, you're not saying, see, there it is. Surely you're not saying that you want to arrange a legal situation in which infants can be murdered up to 1 month old and have zero ability for the authorities to look into how and why that happened. No, you're not that crazy. Well, the conservatives, raised a huge, terror and sound over this, and they didn't take it out. They didn't take it out of the bill. So yeah, to your point, there's no limiting principle. Maybe that's not the language you use, but there's no limiting principle to the pro-abortion position. They're now kind of admitting, interestingly, bro, think about this one. They're now kind of admitting what pro-lifers have always said. What do pro-lifers say? There's no value-giving difference between the baby in the womb and the baby outside the womb that would make it okay to kill the baby in the womb. I'll say that one more time. There's no value-giving difference between children in the womb and children outside the womb that would make it okay to kill them in the womb. So there's no magical line of development in utero where you're like, well, 2 seconds before this line, it was obviously not a person. But now that they did cross this magical line, now it's a person. But now Democrats seem to be proving the pro-life principle correct. But instead of saying, well, then we should protect both children in the womb and outside the womb, they've actually flipped it. And they said, yeah, pro-lifers are right. There's actually not really any meaningful differences between babies in the womb and babies outside the womb. So let's kill them outside the womb too. And this went back to Ralph Northam in Virginia. Do you remember this in 2019 before the scamdemic? Ralph Northam, former governor of Virginia, he went on a radio show and he was asked about his one of his legislators' bills, his representatives' bills. Her name was Kathy Tran. And he was asked about her pro-abortion bill because it was going to codify abortion, like we were talking about in California, bro, through point of birth into the state of Virginia. And there was this viral clip where this judge was asking Representative Kathy Tran from Virginia to answer the question, will your bill, and you can find this later, it was a pretty viral clip, will your bill allow abortion through point of birth? And she wouldn't answer the question.
Oh, yeah. I've seen,
yeah. And this judge was like, okay, let me speak clearly. She's dilating. He built out the scenario. This woman's dilating. With the language in your bill, could she legally request an abortion? And Kathy Tran goes, you could see her face get uncomfortable. And then she said, yes, my bill would allow that. So then former Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, before Glenn Youngkin got elected for running on parental rights and all that stuff, he's asked on a radio show, so what the hell's wrong with you and your representative and what's going on in the Commonwealth? and he's asked this question, what if a baby survives a botched, failed abortion? And I told you last time on the show, bro, remember, I have friends who are abortion survivors who survived the forceps or the saline salt solution that tried to kill them in the womb. And he's asked, what if a baby survived a botched abortion and was born alive after the failed abortion? And he goes, well, and now this is a direct quote. He goes, we would make the baby comfortable. So now it's a baby, right? Because it traveled 6 inches. We would resuscitate the baby if that's what the mother wanted.
Wow.
And then the mother and the doctor would have a conversation. And that was the quote. And so Ralph Northam seems like he's defending infanticide. So then after that, you had Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska propose the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. And that he proposed that in 2019. You want to know, but by the time Biden entered the White House, I believe Pelosi and the Democrats had vetoed that bill over 90 times. And all it said, I read the bill, bro, it did not restrict abortions. It did not restrict a woman's quote unquote right to obtain an abortion. The bill simply said this, bro. And now I'm circling to wrap the bow on my point here, that if a baby survived a botched abortion, they had to be given the same level of medical treatment and care as any other baby would receive born under normal circumstances. You had to transfer the baby immediately to a hospital because guess what? Shocker, abortion clinics, not well equipped to save the lives of babies. That's like a man bites dog story, I know. If the abortion clinic staff don't report the fact that the baby survived a botched abortion, there'll be legal penalties. And if they kill the baby or let the baby die, there'll be legal penalties. That's all. It only dealt with babies who had survived botched abortions and were outside of the uterus. They vetoed that bill now over 90 times. So what are they communicating? We don't want to protect infants who have survived abortions because we're afraid that might put into place moral premises in the law that cause American citizens to scratch their head and go, wait a second. If it's wrong to kill a baby seconds after they're born, it surely couldn't be right to kill that baby seconds before they're born. And if it's wrong to kill the baby seconds before they're born, how could it be right to kill them 1 week before their due date? And then the gestational trimester framework begins to unravel as Americans go, this doesn't make sense. There's no magical birth canal that confers personhood. So that's the bow on my point there. They're kind of admitting now that, rather than protecting preborn children and infants, let's just kill them both.
Seth, how did this become a passion of yours, this topic?
Yeah, thank you. I actually can't even recall if we talked about that last time, but that's kind of you to ask. So I was raised in LA in Whittier, California. And I was homeschooled through 8th grade. Then I went to public high school because I wanted the sports jock scene and, all that. But it was wonderful being homeschooled.
What sport did you play?
I actually ran cross country and track.
Okay.
So, yeah. And graduated in 2010 from Whittier High School. That's Nixon's alma mater, by the way. But I was homeschooled through 8th grade. And my mother was the director of a pregnancy resource center in the late 1980s, before I was born, because I was born in 91. And she remained the director of that center in Glendora.
Let me ask you this real quick, Seth.
Or Azusa,
is a pregnant resource center like Planned Parenthood?
You got it.
It's really just a place to go get abortions, in my mind. 4.5 million abortions last year, right? But is a pregnant resource center the opposite of Planned Parenthood? It's really to try to convince women to keep the baby, not kill the baby.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
So it's the opposite of a Planned Parenthood.
And that's right. That's a good way to describe it for the layperson. Okay. And by the way, there's
abortion just means kill a baby in my mind. Like every time someone says the word abortion, I translate it to kill a baby.
Well, that's good. See, you're translating what I say, translating the euphemisms of choice into reality, which is why I love the title of your episode today, a dose of reality. But by the way, just as a point of fact, there's about 850,000 to 1 million abortions a year in America. But it's very hard.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's very hard to get accurate numbers because when Bill Clinton was president, he said that states no longer had to report their abortion data. And bro, you want to know the names of some of the states that don't report their abortion data? California, Virginia. So some of the states that have the sort of the highest abortion rates in the country. And so it's actually very difficult to get accurate numbers, although we can kind of get rough figures. But the Guttmacher Institute, which is Planned Parenthood's statistical research branch, reports, between,
why did he do that?
To 900,000.
Sorry.
I don't know how to get into the mind of a Clinton, bro. I mean, that's a very dangerous thing to try to do. I don't know if I would come out okay. But
so Clinton required us when you arrest someone to write down whether they're black or white, but when you have an abortion, you don't have to keep that tally. He was the one that started enforcing the race data.
That's when it changed. Thanks to Clinton, states no longer had to report their abortion data. And I don't think that was coincidental. I think it was intentional to make getting accurate figures much more difficult. But anyways, just as a point of fact. But yeah, so you'll see numbers like 800,000, 850,000 a year. You'll see those numbers reported because of the abortion pill, which, dude, by the way, according to Planned Parenthood's own reporting, accounts for about 50% of the annual abortions, dude. So almost basically half of the babies killed every year in America today are not killed with forceps or suction catheter tubes, or a curette that scrapes out the lining of the uterus and removes the pregnancy, to quote Planned Parenthood's website. About half of them are now the medication abortion pill, which is mifepristone and misoprostol.
So the sperm penetrates the egg, it attaches to the wall in the uterus, and you take this pill and it detaches.
Well, so there's conception when sperm and egg meet and a new human being comes into existence. Anyone that tells you otherwise is lying to you. And then there's implantation, which is when that new human being, travels through the fallopian tube and implants in the uterine wall.
I didn't know that. So wow. Okay. They meet up there and then they cruise down.
Yeah. So the pill, right? The pill, birth control pill, that can prevent implantation. It has 3 fail safes. It's supposed to block the hormone progesterone, which makes it much more difficult to get pregnant. Secondly, it creates a mucus lining that makes the sperm harder to reach the egg. And then, and I meet people all the time at events, bro, who say, "Hey, Seth, I just want to let you know, my mom was on the birth control pill when she got pregnant with me." So like, we know these things are not like foolproof. So if conception occurs when you're taking the birth control pill, okay, the third fail safe in the birth control pill is to prevent implantation, which would be an early abortion. But I wasn't talking about the birth control pill. I was talking about the abortion pill, which a woman takes when she already has a positive pregnancy test. Anyway.
I want to read this really quick. This is from Seth Gruber's Instagram account. It says, for those of you who can see, this is an incredible picture. It's a baby in like with two the pointer finger and I guess the thumb, showing the size of the baby. And you can see the baby. I mean, it's got hands and eyes and shit. It says this photo was taken at the University of Minnesota by photographer Robert Wolf in 1972. That was the year I was born. It was taken during surgery for an ectopic pregnancy. No one can deny the humanity of the unborn, even in these early stages. Well, someone can deny it. I don't. But anyway, we'll go on. A doctor who was present for the surgery later shared this testimony. This is crazy. Listen up. Years ago, while giving an anesthetic for a ruptured ectopic pregnancy at 2 months, that's 8 weeks, people, I was handed what I believe was the smallest living human ever seen. The embryo sac was intact and transparent. Within the sac was a tiny human male.
Yeah.
Swimming extremely vigorously in the amniotic fluid while attached to the wall by the umbilical cord. This tiny human was perfectly developed with long tapering fingers, feet, and toes. It was almost transparent as regards the skin, and the delicate arteries and veins were prominent to the end of the fingers. The baby was extremely alive and did not look at all like the photos and drawings of embryos which I have seen. When the sac was opened, the tiny human immediately lost its life and took on the appearance of what is accepted as the appearance of an embryo at this stage. Blunt extremities.
Yep. Paul
Dude,
Rockwell.
that's crazy.
Isn't that beautiful?
Swimming vigorously. Okay, so those are when you take you can take the pill at 8 weeks and detach that thing, Seth. That abortion pill.
So the abortion pill, which is also known as RU486, and I'll give you a historical bomb on that in just a second.
And we will get back to where your mom worked, but go on. I'll get us back on track.
Okay,
go on.
We're chilling. The abortion pill is taken from any as early as when you know you're pregnant, okay, up to 10 weeks. Now, a few years ago, it was 8 weeks. The FDA only recommended that the abortion pill be taken up through 8 weeks. And then randomly, the science changed. And suddenly it was up through 10 weeks. No explanation given as to how they deemed it was safe for mom to take it up 2 weeks longer. And actually, recently, there's been a push by the FDA and the abortion industry to move it to 12 weeks, which is like flirting with the beginning of the second trimester.
Increases sales by 20% because now you have a group, right? I mean, theoretically, now you have a group of people who can take it for 20% longer.
Right. Well, and remember that because I said the abortion pill accounts for 50% of the annual abortions in America today. Those are Planned Parenthood's numbers. And so why is that beneficial to the abortion industry? Well, the bloodthirsty, blood-sucking abortion industry. Well, because that abortion pill is cheap to manufacture and you can sell at high margins. It does not require brick and mortar abortion centers. So you don't have to have as many operating centers paying the lease on all these buildings. It doesn't require abortion staff. You don't have to have a whole staffed up brick and mortar abortion center. And you don't have to pay the third-party vendors that come with the hazardous waste, medical waste buckets to dump the limbs of babies and to take them away. And in Washington, D.C., to burn them to fund the city's electricity. I mean,
no shit. That's a clean energy use? Like they burn the babies for clean energy?
Yeah.
Is that really fucking true, Seth?
My buddy AJ Hurley, who you would wow, you want to have the dose of reality conversation, bro?
Yeah.
My buddy AJ Hurley, one of my best friends, he's a pro-life activist. He sacrificed more to save the unborn than most people I know. And he was in DC with his wife when he got a call from some of his friends who do sidewalk counseling. And just to define that term, these are pro-lifers who peacefully stand outside of abortion centers, and they peacefully try to get the mom to talk to them before she walks in and offer her help, a free ultrasound, medical care, financial assistance if she needs it, and get her to choose life at that last moment when she's about to walk into the abortion center to kill her life. So Cesare Santangelo is a late-term abortionist in Washington, D.C. And we've suspected for some time that he was performing illegal partial birth abortions, which was banned by Bush. Partial birth abortions is when you deliver a baby forcibly by their legs first, not head first, legs first, but you leave the head and the shoulder blades in the vaginal canal. And then when hence the phrase, brother, partial birth, right? Partial. They're partially born. And then you take a pair of Metzenbaum scissors. if you want to show your audience what those look like. Metzenbaum, 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 Baum. You take a pair of Metzenbaum scissors, and you insert them up the birth canal, and you poke a hole into the back of the baby's neck, like just below, like the top of our spinal cord. You open that hole that you've just created in the back of the baby's heads, and then you stick a suction catheter vacuum tube into the back of the baby's neck, and you suck the brains out. So these were banned.
This guy Cesari does these illegally.
We have suspected for some time, pro-lifers have, because why, bro? Here's why: the abortion industry is the least regulated industry in the entire country. Anytime Republicans try to, draft legislation to go in and audit records and, be able to do investigations, the Planned Parenthood trots it off to a friendly judge and they get it blocked. So you're talking about like almost no regulation whatsoever. We've suspected for some time that Cesare Santangelo in Washington, D.C., who does late-term abortions, has been probably doing some illegal forms of, which is always weird, right? Like, you can kill the baby this way, but not this way. It's like, once again, if it's not a person, who cares how you kill them? I think it's because a lot of pro-choice Americans are not even uncomfortable with where the abortion industry is taking them. Anyways, so my friend AJ gets a call from some sidewalk counselors who are trying to save children and love on moms outside of Cesare Santangelo's abortion center. And here's,
by the way, Santangelo has a 1-star review.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you really want to throw up? Go read some of the women who have left him reviews on their experiences as he killed their children. It's really heartbreaking stuff. So my buddy AJ and his wife go over to DC when they were called by their friends. And here's why they got that call. The medical waste management driver who was coming by to pick up the medical waste, which otherwise is known as dead children, from and I just forgot the name of his abortion center, but anyway, it's Cesare Santangelo and
Washington Surgery Clinic,
DC Surgery Clinic. Thank you.
They call it the abortion mill,
the DC Surgery Clinic. Yeah, and so
God, this guy, people don't like him on the internet.
Yeah, the sidewalk counselors. Okay, you ready for this? Had pleaded with the medical waste management company driver to give them some of the boxes and buckets of children. He did not know what he was picking up. They asked him, do you know what's in there? He just thought it was probably like gauze or like, maybe like from elective surgeries on patients who needed like a nerve helped or something. No. He didn't know that he had dead babies in there. They told him, he was horrified. And so he gave them about 105 dead babies so that the pro-lifers could give them a respectful burial. So they call my friend AJ.
Did that dude get in trouble for that?
They've been trying to go after some of the pro-lifers. Yeah.
No, I mean the guy, the garbage man. Did he get in trouble for?
I'm not sure. He probably got fired, but I don't know that side of the story. So they go to some apartment or Airbnb or something, and my buddy AJ meets these wonderful pro-life heroes who had got these mutilated children, and they open them up. And they photograph it. And this launched a movement last year called Justice for the Five, because 5 of those, out of about 115 babies, actually, I believe, 5 of them were in the third trimester. And they had.
And how many months is that? How many months is that?
Well, so 3 trimesters. So 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. Right. So that would be 12 weeks and then 24 weeks. So the third trimester would begin at the end of 24 weeks. So third trimester would be between week 25 and week 40. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can Google this too, Justice for the Five. And so launches this movement to demand that DC Mayor Muriel Bowser do autopsies. Okay, right? To confirm how these children were killed. Because listen, we know what we're doing, man. We've been in this movement our entire lives. Like a baby's skull should not be half collapsed in unless its brains were sucked out through a partial birth abortion. That type of abortion is illegal. But most pro-choicers are very uncomfortable with that. You know what I mean? Most pro-choicers.
The whole subject is crazy uncomfortable for so many people.
Yeah. When you describe a partial birth abortion, dude, like I've watched pro-choicers go, It's like, well, if you don't want to hear it, then maybe you shouldn't support the act that takes those children's lives. Anyways, so DC Mayor Muriel Bowser has refused to get the Justice Department or the police involved to do autopsies to confirm if Cesare Santangelo was breaking federal law. So like, anyways, my point is this: like, this stuff happens in America, okay? And there's never justice and there's never investigations. Why? Because abortion is the sacrament of the religion of secular progressivism or humanism. It's the linchpin upon which the liberal establishment swings. This is why when Roe v. Wade gets overturned.
Why? How come?
Okay, so let's get spiritual and religious. Christ says, "I must die so you can live." Abortion says, "No, baby, you must die so I can live." Can you think of something more inverted than Christianity, which says that the Creator came to earth, became fully man and fully God, died for the sins of the world so that if you repent and believe, you will be saved? And so abortion says, actually, we're going to kill the most weak and defenseless among us so that we can live how we want. Like, you could not come up with something more inverted and opposite than Christianity. And so I think at the end of the day, abortion is our belief that we have the right to make difficult life problems just go away. And if that problem happens to be a person, so be it. Because the serpent told me in Genesis 3, I get to be like a god. What can you think of?
Let me ask you this real quick, Seth. For us non-religious people, would you meet me halfway and say that this is the psychological landscape of all men? You know what I mean by that? Like, let's say there is no God, but still, if you were to be able to peel back and look at the programming of men, that's how it would work. Could you meet me?
Well, yeah, that's good. Let me
that's
put
the mechanism of how the brain works.
I think I know what you're saying. So let's run with that. Here's what I would say. Remove God, and moral accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And we go right back to human sacrifice. I don't know how much of like your history you know, and I don't pretend to be some crazy history ninja buff. I have friends like that.
I know nothing. It's always safe. It's always safe.
You got to check out my buddy Bill Federer, who like is like a walking encyclopedia, like not just American history but world history. The guy is such a gift to America and to the church, but not the tennis player, but it's spelled the same. Bill Federer, historian. But I've had him on the show to talk about the history of human sacrifice, and like basically every civilization throughout human history practiced human sacrifice at some point. Like, this is man apart from God and apart from moral accountability. Right? When you believe that you're going to stand before the Creator of the universe one day, and you're going to be judged for, as the scriptures say, for all things said and done, and every thought you've ever had, that causes you to live differently. Now, Christianity doesn't say you're saved and will go to heaven by your actions and your good works. It says that you're saved through the work that Christ did on your behalf by being fully God and fully man, and therefore innocent and perfect, could be the only one that could die for the sins of others because he himself was innocent and had never sinned. And so now that righteousness is imputed to you if you repent and believe. But good works ought to flow and follow that faith. When you do understand that even though you may enter heaven, you're going to be held accountable still and judged for what you said and did, right? That causes people to live differently. Like, the famous atheists have actually said, this is interesting, that they credit Christianity for building the West and the rights and liberties they take for granted. Like, famous atheists have said this. Is really interesting. Christopher Hitchens and others, about like how while they don't believe there's a God, they're like, well, but yeah, I mean, it was this belief in like that man and woman was created in the image of God, and so they weren't just like another form of animal. Like, there was something glory and divine about human beings that separated us from other forms of creatures, the sanctity of life, the image of God. And that was the belief in Christianity that built these laws that protected children and the family. And guess what else? Women's rights. Now, I'm not talking about killing babies in the womb. I'm talking about like the right to vote, the right to not be treated as the property of your husband. Like, dude, you want to know like who changed those things? It was Christians. So like even atheists have admitted like while they hate Christianity, hate it, and they don't believe there's a God, which is funny, right? When they say they hate Christianity and they don't believe God exists, it's like God doesn't exist, and I also really hate him. It's like, what? Kind of weird to hate something that you don't think exists. But we all understand that it was Christianity that built these rights and liberties in this understanding that man and woman has dignity and sanctity because they were made by God. And so why does abortion drive the left insane? Well, I mean, it's no different than any other culture that's practiced human sacrifice that says like, no, rather than putting aside my selfish desires and my quote unquote rights to care for the least among us, right? Because they have dignity like me. We're going to kill the least among us so that we can live as we want to.
I mean, that is the equation, right?
That's the point I'm making.
That's the equation. So it's basically like, I'm going to choose just the worst case scenario, right? You're raped, and for some reason you don't want to have that baby because for whatever, because you were raped. And you don't want to have the baby of some man you didn't know who violently shoved his penis into your vagina and ejaculated into you. And so now you're going to, because you don't want to live that life with that baby, you're now going to kill the baby. Yeah, so like I can't logically put that. I can't. As horrible as it sounds, I'm not even taking sides. I just can't, I don't understand why killing the baby makes that better.
Well, it's just selfishness. Like, dude, let's just get.
But is that a bad thing to be selfish? You're saying it like it's a bad thing. Is that a bad thing to be selfish?
Well, is it a bad thing to be selfish if you kill your 2-year-old so that you can make financial ends meet?
I mean, those arguments are just crazy to me.
Right. Well, no.
Someone would kill a baby because it's going to be raised into a poor family doesn't make any sense to me. Like I can't. Right. I don't understand.
Playing God again? Isn't that just playing God again? Because this was the old Freakonomics argument, right? From a few decades ago, was like we need abortion to help the economy, right? Because of overpopulation, and also because a lot of these children will be raised in really bad environments. And become criminals and drug lords, and because of their poor circumstances, they'll probably turn to those things. This was the Freakonomics argument, and so abortion will actually help decrease crime. I'm not embellishing or like.
Oh, I know.
Arranging the rhetoric in a way to make their argument seem stupid. That was the argument of Freakonomics. Abortion will reduce crime.
What about this? Like, what about this?
You're predicting future negative behavior. And so rather than seeing if that child will turn out good or bad, you murder them before they have the chance to prove you wrong. And then you feel really morally superior.
Let me pose this to you. So men and women aren't equal. We just do different shit. We're not equal. So to anyone to think that we're equal, I mean, just the fact you can just look at the physical characteristics and bam, right there. Why don't we make it so that killing people is illegal? But since men and women aren't equal, there's a caveat for women being able to kill their babies while they're in the womb.
So this was an argument of the sexual revolutionaries in the 60s, kind of leading up to Roe v. Wade in 1973, right? They argued that for women to be equal with men, okay, they had to have the right to abortion. I
can't make that leap. I don't understand that. How does?
Well, because
they're not equal.
They have these. Well, okay, so let's.
I guess you could say the argument the other way, real quick. You could say, "Hey, sure. Men and women aren't equal, and actually, once women do get pregnant, you're right. You don't have the right to kill a baby. Sorry, we're just not equal."
Well, so let's define our what we mean by equal. We believe that men and women are equal in dignity and rights. You understand what I mean? We have the same right to life. We have the same dignity and value in virtue of being human beings. And that dignity and value is the same and equal whether you're male or female. Now, you and I believe that, but I know what you meant, but I just wanted to define it for everyone. What you meant is that we're not equal in the sense that we're not equitable, right? We're not identical is what you meant. We're not identical, but we're equal in terms of our rights and dignity. So obviously men and women are not equal in the way you're using it. down to our bone structure, we're not equal. Right. What was the old comedy series years ago? Like, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Like, but before we tried to say that men and women were virtually the same and that gender identity is separate from sex, that sex and gender identity are separate. We used to all recognize, like, no, we're like completely different species. Like, we're not the same species, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like, jokes were always made about this before the trans mafia took over the country, which is like, no, we're very, very different. And so the argument of the sexual revolutionaries during the sexual revolution was that for women to be equal with men in the sense of identical, same rights, they need to have the right to abortion. And there were actually feminists who said, like, it was these pesky uteruses, right? Because we have these uteruses that allow us to get pregnant. And so
that sounds like misogyny, by the way. Hey, why would you hate on the uterus?
Well, exactly. Isn't that a great question? Why is there a hatred for the unique differentiators between women and men? That's a great question, because you and I sense, bro, kind of delight in those differences. Now, I delight in them because they were actually given to us by God, and there was intentionality behind that, because it wasn't a random accident. And cosmic sludge wasn't banging around in the universe, and then suddenly human beings existed. And I just came from a monkey. Like, I don't believe that. That's why I celebrate in those differences, because they were intentionally designed to be different. How beautiful. And so I love the differences between men and women, and I believe that we're complementary. I don't believe that any two will do. Do you remember that saying in the gay rights movement? Any two will do. Love is love. What was the argument? That two dads are just as are no different in how they raise their children than two moms, and are no different in how they raise their children between a mom and a dad. Dude, I'm sorry, excuse my French, but that's bullshit.
Of course, that's bullshit.
I'm a dad of 3 children. Like,
without even passing judgment. Like, fine if you have 2 dads or 2 moms, but it's not having a mom and a dad. And having a mom and a dad is the best way to do it.
Well, dude, go read Obama's Father's Day message from 2008. He sounds like a conservative. Like, Obama's Father's Day message from 2008 today would be mocked and reviled by CNN, and Obama would be thrown out into utter darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Like, he's celebrating the uniqueness of fathers and the irreplaceable nature of fathers, which is, you're not allowed to do that in leftism today. And by the way, you're not a leftist, dude, because if you were, you couldn't be saying the things you're saying. Like, leftists literally say any two will do. Love is love. Children raised by 2 fathers or 2 mothers are fair just as well across every sociological and physiological category as children raised by a mother and a father. It's no different.
What would you rather have? If you had to choose, would you rather have 2 mothers or 2 fathers?
False equivalency. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't choose. But the reason I said that,
come on, Seth. 2 mothers or 2 fathers? What would you choose?
The reason I said that, right?
I'm gonna choose 2 mothers. I'm gonna choose 2 mothers
because of what you said. Yeah. Your question earlier was why would there be a hatred for the uniqueness of a uterus? Which I said was a really fascinating question. I was really fascinated and excited that you asked that. I believe it's a hatred of the natural order and the natural obligations that flow out of the natural world. So what do I mean by that? Can we control that we have male chromosomes and a penis? No, we can't control that. Can the woman control that she has female chromosomes and a uterus? No. Now, we didn't pick our gender or our genitalia.
Our sex.
Same thing. And so because of our unique differentiators, there are certain roles and obligations that flow out of those differences.
Right.
So you can only have,
and that's gender. That's what I call gender, by the way. Those roles that flow out I would call gender.
That's fine.
In the dong and the vagina, I would call sex.
I understand.
Okay.
You can only have a baby woman because you're the only one with a uterus.
Right.
Then anyone who has 2 brain cells left to rub together will admit that mothers have certain maternal instincts that come more naturally than the kind of instincts that naturally arise in a man. So what am I doing? I'm saying that there are certain biological realities And from those biological realities that arise out of the natural world, there are actually moral obligations that flow from biology. And so if that is the case, this is my belief, that, and I think it's the right one, obviously, that when things are so intentionally different between man and woman, it begs the question, why? Who made it this way? Why are we different in this way? Which naturally leads you back to Christianity and to the Creator. I think that the cultural war of transgenderism and abortion in particular is man and woman's attempt to obliterate any distinctions between the sexes. Because if we're all the same and there's nothing different and unique about us anymore, then we are just evolved from animals.
Well, what you're saying is true.
There wasn't a creator that assigned us duties and moral obligations that flow from our biology.
What you're saying is true. The offensive part is some people would take offense to it because whether it's intentional or not. But it's true. It's like, I have feet and I'm going to kill bugs. Well, that's not my intention, but that's what my feet do. So what you're saying about transgenderism is 100% true. And the reason why people get offended is that they think, well, is it intentional that they're trying to do that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let me ask you this. Do you accept the premise that one man could be attracted to another man and not be attracted to women?
Oh, sure. I believe that
that
homosexual desires exist, and some people have a
authentic homosexual desires. Okay.
Longing for the same gender that they can't, they feel like they didn't choose.
Should they just not have kids since they can't have kids? Let's say they want a kid.
No, sorry. Children have a right to a mother and a father. Ideally,
interesting. Okay.
Their mother and their father.
Going back to natural,
the same home. Yeah.
And that goes back to natural law, the natural law piece.
Well, isn't it funny that like most animals fulfill their parental obligation that flowed out of the natural world better than most adults? Like, this is so basic. Like, I'm sure there's some weird animals. What do they talk about? The black widow who like eats her husband or some weird stuff. But like
praying mantis too. Fascinating.
Yeah, most species of animals.
But they don't let it go to waste. They're really good liberals. They eat the mate. They recycle the mate.
Most species take care of their own offspring. And there's like actual like parent time with both parents in the species. You see this with bear cubs and wolves and stuff like this. I'm just saying, I'm not a Darwinist, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of sick that like many animals are better at understanding parental obligations that flow out of the natural world.
Those dumb fuckers do it better than us, is what you're saying. They're morons. They're dumb. They're animals. They throw feces, and yet they have a higher level of obligation to their children than we do. It's crazy.
It didn't used to be that way with no-fault divorce laws and with the declining of Western civilization and Christianity in the West. Now about half of the children probably born. I was looking at the data the other day. Actually, we made. I'll have to pull it up again. But sometime in the late 90s and then going into the early 2000s, like almost 50% of children were being raised by one mother or one father, and they were not living under the same roof of their married mother and father. I mean, the decline of marriage, right, is the decline of civilization, because the family is the smallest political unit, right? And it's going back to Obama's Father's Day message. Like, liberals used to admit this, like your family structure and how you were raised and the health or lack thereof of that marriage and of that family is the predictor of what kind of citizen and individual you will be as you become an adult. We all understand this. And so as goes the father, I believe, so goes the family. As goes the family, so goes the culture. As goes the culture, so goes the country. And so why has the left always been so obsessed with obliterating distinctions between men and women? Why have they always been so obsessed with with separating children from their parents and educating their children into kooky ideologies? Like, dude, the weird pornographic sex ed, just to give an example, right? You see all those moms and dads speaking at school board meetings over the last 2.5 years, like all around the country. Why? Because they were pissed off about critical race theory and the kooky pornographic sex ed. Those were the two things that brought all these moms and dads to school board meetings. Like really lewd pornographic stuff. Like,
dude,
sometimes like actual drawings of stuff. Did you know in some of the teen talk and the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum, I studied this up really closely. Did you know that they have anal sex in the abstinence section?
I also saw that. I saw a line in there that was telling 12-year-old girls that anal and vaginal sex can both be stimulating. It's like, why is the school talking to kids about that?
Exactly. Isn't that, dude?
They're just dumb white kids anyway. You already taught them in critical race theory that they're dumb white kids. Don't teach them that other shit.
This is why I like you. Is you cut right to the quick and you see the realities of these things clearer than a lot of people. What a great question, huh? Dude, why are you teaching them about sex stuff, kooky, weird sex stuff? Exactly. Because if you can incite children to a sexual frenzy, and ruin the innocence of children, they'll be easier to control. It's a breakdown of the family, and we all know it's not healthy for you to be running around doing experimental, sex stuff as a kid. So that causes chaos, doesn't it? And it hurts children and it breaks down the family. Once again, the family, like what is it about their attack on parental rights? Right. What did all the libs say over the last 2 years? That we heard this so many times that parents don't know what's best. That the public education system, this is our job, and we know what your children need to learn. During the Zoom learning in 2020, when all the children were doing Zoom stuff, there are multiple stories about this, multiple documented stories, and journalism about parents hearing the teacher say over Zoom to the children, that they wanted to make sure the parents weren't around during the teaching, which is like, what the hell? And then some Republicans tried to pass a bill that would require, ready for this, recordings or live videos in all the classrooms, so parents at any time could tune in live to what their children were learning. And guess what? It was so interesting. All the Democrats got their panties in a wad, and they really didn't want that kind of education, that kind of legislation.
But cops have to wear.
But cops have to, exactly. Which raises the question: what are you trying to hide? So I'm just kind of giving some vignettes and examples of like the left's obsession with going after children, the family, parental rights. Right? Why? Because that's a natural institution that arises out of the natural world and biological realities, and it's the smallest political unit. When the parents are the most
smallest
powerful contribution and formative figure in a child's life, then they will be determining the kind of future their child lives, ideologically, philosophically, politically, spiritually. I mean, they will be the number one influences on the lives of their children. But if the schools can educate those children into a certain vision of human flourishing, if the schools can bar parents from exercising their parental rights, if the schools can incite children to a sexual frenzy, if the school can pass legislation in California and Washington right now going on, which would allow the state to trans your kid without parental consent, if a therapist or public health person deems that your child's mental health is best served by being trans, and actually there's actually no language in this bill in California and Washington right now, dude. There's no language in the bill that would prevent the state from actually taking your child from you. Now, if you go Google this, you're going to see all the conservatives have been fact checked, and all the liberal establishment and the activist media has said, fact check, fake news, 10 Pinocchios. No, the legislation does not allow us to take your children from you. We would never do that. Like, how many times do these people have to lie to us, right?
A friend of mine in Washington State already had their kid. One kid pulled. They have four kids, and 3 of them were already pulled out because of something one of the kids said. All 3 kids were pulled out, and Child Protective Services was called already on that. Yeah, and another one of my a friend of a friend in the state of Idaho, someone you probably know, someone who's a little bit famous. Had to flee to Idaho. Another person I know who you probably know their name from the state of Washington had their daughter, 13-year-old daughter, taken from him, and he basically had to grab his daughter and flee to Idaho. And then at 15 years old, she's like, "Thank God you grabbed me, because I was going down that path of."
I remember that story. Yeah,
it's fucking nuts. And now the daughter is like so happy the dad grabbed her and got her out of that. Yeah, this shit's happening. Anyone, by the way, I talked to one of my friends the other day. I'm like, "You're crazy to have your kids in school in California." And they're like, "Oh, they're too busy. It'll never happen." But this is how it's going to happen, people.
Yeah.
Your kid's going to be in school. They're going to be like, hey, Billy, have you ever thought, that's a cool outfit you're wearing? And he's going to be like, yeah, I wanted to wear a dress today. It's my sister's. And like, oh, you wanted to wear a dress? Why didn't you wear a dress? And Billy's going to say, because my mom told me I couldn't because I'm a boy. And the teacher's going to call Child Protective Services right there. And fucking Billy's going to get taken from you. And he's going to get put into a foster home within 3 days. And they're going to start talking to him. And from that point, and do not think that's not going to happen. One of my other friends in Berkeley had his kid already suspended from school, an 8-year-old boy, for using the wrong pronoun. 8 years old, suspended from school. You guys. Don't think it's not going to happen to your fucking kid. Yeah. And by the way, it can happen to my kids. I live in California too, even though my kids aren't in school.
That's right, you do.
Someone could say something stupid at the beach, and next thing I know, someone can just make it up. Someone can just call Child Protective Services and be like, hey, Sevan's not letting his boys be girls. I'm fucked.
Yep, that's right. And there was another kid recently who was expelled because he refused to. This is elementary school too, by the way, or maybe junior high, but he wasn't a high school student. And this story is going viral right now, so I'm sure you've heard of it or you'll see it. And anyway, he was either expelled or put on leave or whatever, like he couldn't come back for a few days because he refused to take off a shirt that simply said there are only 2 genders.
Oh, yeah. It's like crazy.
Yeah. So, like, I'm glad you recognize that. I'm really glad to hear that because, I guess you're grounded enough in history to understand that that's not impossible. And it's actually quite likely if good people don't stand up against this stuff. But here's an interesting thought to kind of bring the circle back to abortion. All of the craziness, some of the things we just touched on that you and I are in agreement in our hatred of, okay? All of the people behind all of those things. So all of the people behind pushing, defending, and funding all of the stuff that we just found shared hatred over, they're all pro-abortion. And so it's an interesting question, right, to ask yourself, why are these people always all on the same team? Why is the liberal establishment always ideologically aligned on all of their core sacraments or tenets or creeds? Transing the kids, killing the kids in the womb,
thinking that melanated people are dumber than white people.
Yes, exactly. Right. They
all agree on
like
that.
What did Ibram X. Kendi say in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist? He said that the solution to discrimination in the past is discrimination in the future. And he said black people can't be racist because bigotry or discrimination is racism plus power, not just racism itself. And so because black people haven't had power, he argues, then they can't be racist even if they hate white people, because bigotry is racism plus power. It takes a PhD to educate yourself into this kind of stupidity. But
all under the guise of compassion. Kill babies because it's compassionate. Think black people are dumber.
Good for you. It's all under false compassion.
Invite a Mexican person to your house for Christmas because they have less than you. I've seen it all. I was, oh my God, that's so nice of you to invite the Mexican family to your house for Christmas. I'd be like, what?
That's right.
Like what?
So Roe v. Wade got overturned 1 year ago this Saturday. So today's Wednesday, June 21st. This Saturday will be the 1 year anniversary.
I want to talk about that. Because I don't want to lose you before there's something we have to do some healing here. So bear with me. Okay, Seth, I want to talk about Roe versus Wade because that's a good point. Because I wanted you to actually explain to people what actually happened, that they didn't outlaw abortion. But
sure.
I'm a girl and I've had 4 abortions, and I'm listening to this. And one of them was through rape. One of them the kid had Down syndrome. One of them I just wasn't ready. And the other one I was just young and stupid, and my parents told me to do it. Where do I go? And now I'm like, you fucking asshole, Seth. You don't fucking understand. Where's the freedom for her?
Yeah, it's a good
question. How do we set her free?
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Because that might be our biggest enemy. You know what I mean? Because they can't come to terms with the harsh nature of what we're talking about, so they want to defend it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to really defend smoking marijuana. When I used to smoke weed, it's like, marijuana is good for you. It does this, and it has this psychological effect. And man, my back was all fucked up. And next thing I know, you know what I mean? I've convinced myself that burning green shit in the yard is fucking good for me and inhaling the fumes.
Yeah, well said. Isn't that right? That it's the things that we've participated in that hit the closest to home. And so sometimes they're the hardest for us to deal with in our personal lives.
Right.
So, I mean, as a Christian, you know, who believes in the gospel of Jesus Christ, I do not shame or condemn anyone as some like beyond hope wicked evildoer that who can never be brought back to new life or whatever, because Christianity is very clear that we all fall short of the glory of God. The Bible says there's not one who does good, not one. All have gone astray. And some of the heroes in the Bible are like people like King David, who was called a man after God's own heart. He was one of the most righteous, upright kings of Israel. The dude slept with one of his own army officer's wives while she was watched her taking a shower while his buddy was out fighting a battle he should have been leading. Sleeps with his buddy's wife, Bathsheba, impregnates her, and then murders her husband, so that he doesn't find out what he did. And he's called a man after God's own heart and one of the most righteous. He's in the Hall of Faith in the New Testament, like the Hall of Faith, the faith figures of the Old Testament. And you go, whoa, wow. All right. Well, if there's hope for him and there's forgiveness for him, I mean, some of the biggest heroes in Scripture were complete moral degenerates, and yet they would repent and they would turn back to the Lord and they would ask for forgiveness and they would live upright lives. And so, listen, if you're a young woman or a man who's paid for, pressured an abortion, paid for it, stood by and did nothing, or you just wanted to fit into your prom dress, or you wanted to climb the corporate ladder, whatever reason someone got an abortion, because I understand there's different motivations and reasons. But the
get
end
an abortion
result,
to fit in your prom dress, and that I'm sure that's fucking happened. That's fucking crazy. By the
way.
Yeah.
But the end result, regardless of the reason, right, is that an innocent human being was killed.
Right.
I'm not discounting, woman who's listening. I'm not discounting the maybe a relational and psychological complexity of that decision. But emotional, relational, and psychological complexity does not equal moral complexity. The relational crap that you had going on at the time means nothing to the child who was killed. They were still killed. That's an innocent human being whose life was taken and snuffed out. But regardless of the reason you chose the abortion, the end result was the same. But listen, if there was grace for King David, if there's grace for me, there's grace for you. I don't believe that all sin is equal, because nobody believes that killing your sibling is the same as stealing a pencil from Staples. So no one actually believes all sin is equal, but Christianity says all sin puts us on an equal playing field, meaning like we're all going to be held accountable for our sin when we're judged by the Lord. Even though not every choice of sin is necessarily morally equal. So yes, killing a little baby is a particularly heinous type of evil. But one of the greatest evangelists in all of Christianity, the Apostle Paul, used to murder Christians when he was named Saul, still in the New Testament. He murdered Christians and hunted them down and tried to destroy the church. Then Jesus met him on a road when he was riding a donkey, blinded him, and told him to stop persecuting his church. And he became the Apostle Paul, who wrote over half of the New Testament. He literally murdered innocent Christians. So I mean, far be it from me to cast judgment on those who have killed their babies.
How about their judgment of themselves? How did they free themselves from the judgment of themselves?
Aren't we our most vicious critic, right?
Right.
Many of us have been forgiven by family members in our life for maybe ways that we've hurt our family members, and yet we can't forgive ourselves still. This is why Christianity is really the only religion. It's why it's such a different religion than any other religion. It says that the very divine logic of the universe, who breathed out stars and created human beings, made you as the peak and pinnacle of his creation, more valuable than any other form of life he had made. And he proved that when he took on human flesh. The God-man becomes fully God and fully man, steps into human flesh as a perfect human being who had never sinned, and then takes the punishment that we should have endured for our heinous sin against the Creator, against the Lord. And so now forgiveness is available to all who repent and believe. It's actually
what if you're not a Christian? There's no. Do you have any way of they can forgive themselves or accept their behaviors?
I mean, no, because if Christianity is true, it is of ultimate concern. If it's not true, it should be mocked and reviled. Right, like this is what C.S.
Oh,
Lewis
I don't know.
said,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm not sure if it's true. I don't think it's true, but I don't think it should be mocked and reviled. I go back to what you said in the beginning of the show. I think it's been vital. Like I want to be surrounded by Christians. I think it's vital to the success of civilization.
That's well said. But if it's not true, then we've believed a lie, and we're to be pitied and mocked for believing such a stupid thing. You know, that the God became human, and that he died and then he rose again 3 days later. If that didn't happen, we've been living a lie and a total myth, and it means that the heaven we thought we would receive, the forgiveness we thought we were given, but when we stand before God on Judgment Day, was also all a myth and a lie, and it's not real, and we're going to hell forever. And the forgiveness that you thought that you had from your sin, it didn't exist. So if Christianity's false, we've been living a lie. If it's true, then it's of ultimate concern. And so I don't know how to.
You think if a woman's had an abortion, Seth, or a man encouraged a woman to get an abortion or anything like that, since that's the behavior we're talking about, that if you do, let's say I don't believe in God, but I had a girlfriend when I was in high school and I got her pregnant and I asked her to get an abortion, but I haven't been called by Jesus yet, and I don't believe in God, or I'm not a Christian. Maybe I should just drop to one knee every night before I go to bed and be like, God, please forgive. Like that's the process, as Canadians say it. God, please forgive me for or lead me out of this this guilt that I have. Please show me the way that I can appease you for the killing one of your children. Even though I don't believe it, I should just fake it till I make it. I'm just trying to figure out how this has got to be a really tough. A lot of people haven't been called by God. They haven't been touched by Jesus. They're not as fortunate as you. They don't have your faith. What are they supposed to do? But yet they're I don't know, to use your word, maybe they're writhing. You know what I mean? It's a pain in them. It's a vulnerability. It's a wound. They're wounded.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you. Did you hear any of that?
Sorry about that, dude.
Shit I was babbling on about? Okay.
I did. I'm sorry. I just lost you for like a couple seconds.
That's okay. What do we do? What do we do? How what's the out for them? Where do they find acceptance? What if God isn't calling them? What should they do? Should they just pick up a Bible and just spend 5 minutes reading every night? Like what's the
That would be a great place. That would be a great place. That would be a great place to start. So,
seriously, is it like, hey, you're struggling with the abortion that you had? Hey, just pick up the Bible and start reading a little bit.
So, consider this. Okay.
Okay.
You
hear what I'm saying, right? I'm trying to give these people like okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I like again about you is that you recognize a lot of just human realities, as self-evident. And one of those human realities that you're talking about right now is this concept of sort of universal guilt, right? Like, don't we all recognize at a deep heart level that we're screwed up, and we regret choices we've made, and it's hard to find resolution. It's hard to find peace, the kind of peace that we're seeking. It's hard to find the comfort that everything's going to be okay. I'm not just going to die and take a dirt nap. That maybe there's something beyond this, and like maybe I'm an eternal being, and like how do I come to terms with the fact that like maybe there is more than this life, and I've really effed up and I've made some really bad decisions and choices. Like I think most human beings think about these things, and we struggle with these things, even if
they avoid thinking about them. Everyone has it.
Because they're thinking about it. Because they think about it, they can't handle thinking about it anymore. And so the things we avoid thinking about are things we're thinking about because we're trying not to think about them, and so we're actually thinking about them. I mean, like, this is such a universal human experience, and so like I like what you're pointing out there. But here, so you said, well, what if God's not calling them and they haven't been touched by the Lord? I would say that Romans in the New Testament talks about how like that God has made his divine attributes plainly seen. And so people are left without excuse. What does he mean? They're left without excuse because they don't have a good argument to say, I didn't know God existed. I had no reason to believe that. The Bible says, no, you were left without excuse. Like, look at the stars, look at human beings. Isn't it funny that, like, so here's an iPhone right here, right? Like, no secular liberal or leftist would say, oh my gosh, that iPhone just appeared in a studio in Silicon Valley. That thing just built itself. Like, it's funny how, like, we look at intelligently designed things, and we cannot believe that it was coincidental or accidental. In other words, we know that there had to be a creator. But then those same people will look at the complexity of a human being. Like, now that we know, like, have you looked into the complexity of, like, the human eye? Like, this actually caused, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, this caused Darwin at the end of his life to recant most of his beliefs when he studied the diagram and portrayal of the human eye, because he said there was no way that could have just happened accidentally or arisen out of human species. I believe it was Darwin. Whether he either recanted his beliefs or he said that had to be intelligently designed. Like, and this has happened to a lot of atheists who have set out to disprove God. This happened to C.S. Lewis, one of the most famous evangelists and Christian writers of the 20th century. This happened to Josh McDowell, one of the most famous Christian authors and speakers of the 20th century. This has happened to a lot of, who's the other guy? I'm forgetting his name right now. Anyways, a lot of major
Christians. God have created evolution?
So some Christians believe that God is still the creator, and he used the process of microevolution, not macro, so not meaning monkeys to humans, but microevolution to bring about creation. Some Christians believe that. I don't really want to get into that. But my point is, like, the same people who look at the complexity of a MacBook Pro or an iPhone and say, well, there must have been a lot of creators there, can also look at a human being and say there was no creator. It was all accidental. I'm just saying, isn't that interesting? And I'm making a very popular argument for God. It's the intelligent design argument. It's nothing new. It's not my argument. But like, it is a good argument because it's so self-evident. And so, like, to your question about, like, well, people haven't, Seth, God hasn't spoken to other people like he has you. Like, maybe they haven't had an experience with the Lord. God has already spoken clearly to us through his word, which is the Bible, and through creation, which the Bible says has left us without excuse. We all know there's a God because we know that the freaking Milky Way could not have happened accidentally. And so, but ultimately, what differentiates Christianity, right, is firstly one God. Secondly, that God became a human being. Thirdly, that God, being an innocent human being, allowed himself to be murdered so that our sins would not have to be punished by death, because that punishment was put onto the lamb, the scapegoat, if you will, almost in a way, the innocent creator. And fourthly, that God-man rose again from the dead 3 days later. So there are 11 basically undisputed facts about the resurrection in Christianity, which is really fascinating. What do you mean?
What do you mean undisputed?
Meaning that there are core.
I'm disputing them right now in my head
about Christianity. I know we're long. I'll send you an article to check out and dig into. And I can recommend some really wonderful Christian apologist brothers who all they do is they defend the resurrection and the historical veracity.
It's all self-referential. Everything you're doing now, though, is self-referential, right? You're saying it's true. God is real because of this book God wrote. And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, you can't. I don't think you can do that. That doesn't make sense.
So I'll spit some of these off to you. But there are a lot of core historical facts that liberal atheistic historians agree are historical fact. The first is the death of Jesus by the crucifixion. There was someone named Jesus. Mm-hmm. He claimed to be God, and he was crucified. The second fact is that there was an empty tomb. Something happened to the body of Jesus. Historians know this. We can be sure of this. Not only was Jesus publicly executed in Jerusalem, but his post-mortem appearances and empty tomb were first publicly proclaimed there. Historically, we know that the man named Jesus, who claimed to be God, who we know was crucified, was not in the tomb 3 days later. So we know that. Again, I haven't proved anything that he is God or anything. I'm just saying these facts are agreed upon by historians. Right. The third fact is the post-resurrection appearances. That hundreds of people claim to have seen that same Jesus who they saw murdered and hung on a cross, who they saw wrapped up and put in a tomb, who wasn't in the tomb 3 days later. And hundreds of people, I'm telling you, liberal, left-wing atheist historians say, yes, there were hundreds of people who claimed to have seen the risen Jesus after the tomb was empty. The fourth fact is the origin of the Christian faith. So no scholar denies the fact that the Christian religion exploded out of first century Israel. And within one generation of the death of Christ, the movement that was called the Way, which Christianity had spread to Europe, Africa, and Asia. And Christianity is an effect that needs an adequate cause and explanation. In other words, what exactly did the Christian faith come from, and what best explains its origin? And the best explanation for the origin of Christianity is the resurrection of Jesus. The man who claimed to be God and then died, and he told people he'd rise again, and then he actually rose again. So anyways, my point is this: if there are good reasons to believe that's true, and if it's a good chance that that's true, that changes everything, right? Like if I told you, dude, that
sure as fuck does change everything. I agree with that.
Yeah, if I told you I was gonna be murdered, and then I was like, and then 3 days later, I'm just gonna like resurrect myself. And you'd probably mock me and laugh at me. Of course, we all would to someone. And then if I did it, you'd probably bow and kiss my feet.
Right.
Like what the bleep?
Right.
So, and if you ever want to dive down into those conversations, which I think you should, I can recommend some great brothers who've built their entire career in ministry and calling on defending the historical veracity of the resurrection and the rational reasons to believe in the monotheistic Christian God. But all of that means nothing if we're still in our sins. Like if we're still doomed to hell, then what's the point of Christianity? But Christianity says you're loved. I created you, says God. I have a purpose for your life. I came and died so that your sinful, disgusting choices would not have to be judged. And some people think God is like me. He's mean because he judges sin. Nobody lives like that. Like if someone murdered your son, like we would want justice. You know, like if someone murdered my son at a park, like I would expect the court to carry out justice. Why should it be any different in the eternal? Why do we think that our sin against God is somehow less significant than our sin against one another? And so Christianity says, like God says, I actually took that punishment for you. Now, if you repent of your sins and humble yourselves and believe in me and follow me, fulfill my plan for your life, you're going to be saved and be in heaven with me in glory forever. That's the hope and the message of Christianity, that we will rise again with the Lord. If we repent and believe, we'll be given new bodies, perfect bodies. There will be no more shedding of tears, no more blood, no more pain, the way that God originally intended the world to create. And so I can't offer someone hope beyond what I believe is the truth of Christianity, because you can turn to any psychology you want. You can turn to any therapist that you want, but I believe at the end of the day, it's just psychobabble and psychological self-talk. You're trying to make yourself feel good for a future horror that you're afraid might be real, which is that you'll just return to dirt or burn in hell. That's a horrifying reality to think about. And Christianity says, yeah, that is all true, but you're spared from all of that if you repent and believe and follow me. That's new life. That's hope. That's true freedom. You said earlier, how do I offer women freedom from this? That's the true freedom that you can have. And that's not reserved for just a few human beings. That's plainly open to everyone, because God created every human being in his image and has a purpose and plan for their life. So, and by the way, that beauty and plan began at the moment of conception. And so now we've created the circle. Jesus proved that because he entered human history as a fetus in the womb of Mary. To really communicate how significant and beautiful human life is.
Good thing he wasn't aborted.
We're not just monkeys. That's right. I talk about that a lot, by the way, when I preach in churches. So,
would Seth be willing to do a live call-in show where people can just call in? Dude, he thrives in that.
Yeah, anytime.
Hey, this is outside of the whole abortion thing. If you just want to see just a wonderful mind work, go to his Instagram account and just watch how he answers questions. he does not get caught up. It's fascinating. One of the questions that I saw recently that was fascinating. Well, first of all, we started the show by saying you led that lady down that path of saying, well, what are the reasons to kill a baby? And she was agreeing. And then you're like, well, what if it's a girl? Can you kill it just because it's a girl? And all of a sudden she had a problem with it. And what he does is he helps expose people's own lies in their head, their own inability to think. And so there's another lady at UC Berkeley who's talking to him saying, hey, who are you to fucking make a decision on what's right for a woman and what's not right for a woman? And he said, hey, I was a baby. I was in a womb. I get a vote too. Right. And I'd never heard that before. I was like, holy shit. There it is. There's Seth thinking clearly again. He's saying to you, you think it's just about women? Well, I was a baby and I could have been murdered. I'm on the other end of it. I was also, I lived in a womb. Sunil Motwani, is the morning after pill considered murder?
So the morning after pill
is that the Plan B thing?
Yes, thank you.
God, I'm glad I'm old.
The same Plan B is the same thing as the morning after pill. So that could cause an early abortion. Here's the very short answer. A conception can occur within 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours of sex. And so you don't know that, of course, though, right? You don't know that conception has occurred when it occurs. And so if we believe that all human beings are equal in dignity, value, and a right to life, simply because they're humans, not because of their degree of development or their functions or capacities, because those all change and come in varying degrees, but simply because we're humans, then we have to protect the lives of all innocent human beings from the moment they become human. And the science is very clear. You become human at the moment of conception. And so when there's a likelihood or possibility that you could already be pregnant by the time the morning after pill begins to take effect, it is possible that it could cause an early abortion. So my analogy has always been like, if I'm going to church and I'm dropping off my kids at Sunday school or kids church, and they tell me, every 5 years we have one kid drop dead in our kids church at our church. We don't know exactly why it happens or what causes it. We're looking into it. We don't have an answer yet, but that it's a pretty small ratio. So, your kid will be fine. Yeah. Any parent would be like, what the hell? Later. So if you're pro-life and you acknowledge
ejaculating a girl, you shouldn't take a pill. As soon as you ejaculate inside of a girl,
if we must protect all innocent human beings, if there's a chance you could cause an innocent human being to die, then you shouldn't do that. So
you have to make the decision before you put the penis in the girl.
Yeah,
if you're a Christian, if you're going to stay true to the Christian faith.
Yeah. Well, actually, I know lots of atheist progressives who are pro-life activists. It's really interesting. Who agree with everything I'm saying about human life at the moment of conception, protect all innocent human beings, morning after pill. Yeah. But they're atheists. So like, obviously Christianity bolsters that belief, but like, I know non-Christians who agree as well because they follow the science.
There's two things. Do you have time for two quick things?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I want you to talk about Roe versus Wade, but there is there's something very powerful you say in here. Let me see. It's a Jane Fonda clip of her saying. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me show you guys this. There is a Taoist saying that if they lie for you, they'll lie to you. If they lie for you, they'll lie to you. You have to remember that, and that's okay. That's fine. I have good friends who are liars and who are thieves and who are crooks. It's fine. I'm not saying that they're not worthy of my friendship, but I'm aware of their behavior. Right.
Right.
And this is a really important thing to remember about the whole abortion process. If you kill a baby, just think of the implications it says about this person. I want you to hear this. This is some crazy shit. This is from Seth Gruber official Instagram account. Here we go.
Marching and protesting. What else do you suggest?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say? Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just kidding.
Don't say that. That's
you don't know. They'll pick up on that and just run with it.
Worst.
She's just kidding.
Well, let me talk to you about.
I've long said that those who murder the unborn cannot be trusted to govern the born, and that those who murder the unborn will one day murder you too, if you dare stand in the way of their core sacrament. And Jane Fonda on The View, of course, the most garbage television show, just proves this point beautifully, persuasively, disturbingly, when she's asked about what women should do given this post-Roe versus Wade society. She says, well, murder. And they all say, no, she's joking. Don't say that. They're going to pick it up and they're going to, twist your words. And then she gives this face like, am I kidding? Scripture talks about how bloodshed.
I would never consider killing someone who's pro-choice or pro-life as an option for settling this dispute.
Well, good for you. But like I said, you're not.
And she's not joking, Seth. She's not joking.
You're not truly pro-abortion, but
she's not joking. She's not joking.
No, she's not. Can you imagine if Tucker Carlson, before he got fired by Fox, is the most successful viewed political pundit on mainstream television in American history? If he had said, one of the solutions we need to consider for defeating these crazy leftists who are castrating children and murdering babies is to murder them. Can you imagine if he had said something like that? Talk about a nationwide conversation, right? They always talk about, like, we need to have a conversation about this. I mean, like, they would be calling for Tucker Carlson's head. He would have been fired in about 2 seconds. And then the left would use that as a broad way to condemn all conservatives and pro-lifers as domestic terrorists. But when Jane Fonda and the religious figures of the left on The View laugh about Jane Fonda saying, well, because by the way, what they asked her in that clip was, what should we do about some of these like oppressive pro-life laws that are being passed in different states? And that's when she goes, murder. And they go, what did you say? She said, murder. And they're like, don't say that. You're like, they're going to cut that up. And she just kind of goes, huh? Like, I don't know. Am I joking? Like, this is why
she's not joking. I know she's
where you
not
paused
joking.
it. I said that bloodshed begets bloodshed. The Bible talks about this. Bloodshed begets bloodshed. We've been sowing bloodshed in the womb, and now we're reaping it in the streets. We've been sowing bloodshed in the womb, and now we're reaping it in the streets. When you can rationalize and justify the slaughter of a baby, of an innocent human being, because they're defined as unwanted by society or unwanted by their parents, you can do anything. Mother Teresa said, if a mother can kill her own unborn child, what is left for us but to kill one another? Mother Teresa also said, if abortion is not wrong, then nothing is wrong. So yes, the people who can rationalize this as reproductive justice, that's their new one, right? It's reproductive justice.
The changing of words and the lies, calling it healthcare. It's like, it has nothing to do with healthcare. It's like saying, I don't want my kids talked to about my 6-year-old talked to about transgenderism, and all of a sudden I'm transphobic. It's like,
that's right. That's right.
They're saying that the right is passing 500 transphobic laws. I started digging into the laws. None of them are transphobic. Not a single one. Right.
Well, that means you're afraid of people who identify as transgender. Like they don't even use these words for what they mean anymore. Like, what do they call people who are opposed to gay marriage and children being legally allowed to be, 2 gay dudes being allowed to get a kid? They call us homophobic. I'm not afraid of gay people.
Right.
What do you do? I just think children have a right to their mother and their father, or a mother and a father.
Right. They could word it as you're pro-child.
Yeah, so they redefine everything, but maybe we'll wrap up with this. This is nothing new, okay? This gradual dehumanization of political opponents or dissidents, those who dare stand against liberal orthodoxy or the liberal regime. Martin Niemöller, who was part of Bonhoeffer's Confessing Church in Germany, right? So these were the pastors who mobilized against Hitler. And Bonhoeffer, by the way, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, story that you should learn. He was hung naked, murdered by the Nazis in April of 1945 because he was involved in a failed assassination attempt on Hitler. So him and others, the Valkyrie plot, they tried to murder Hitler. They failed. Bonhoeffer was charged for knowing about and being involved in the plot. And he was murdered.
They hung him naked, huh?
They hung him naked on April 9th, 1945 at Flossenburg prison. Days later, the Allied troops would liberate that POW camp. Bonhoeffer is one of my personal heroes and one of the heroes of the 20th century and of during the Third Reich and the Nazi regime. Well, one of his friends, Martin Niemöller, another pastor, Martin Niemöller. And you're going to know this quote probably I'm about to say, but you might not know that it was attributed to him. Martin Niemöller, he woke up too late. In other words, he was one of these parents now who kind of defends the gay stuff and the trans stuff and the abortion stuff. And and they go, hey, live and let live, right? Live and let live, tolerance, let each person kind of live their own truth. Martin Niemöller was like that for a little bit in Germany. He wasn't fully aware or awakened to the threat that Hitler represented. And he kind of wanted to work with the Third Reich. And he actually had a meeting with Hitler and others.
Maybe the Jews are a little dirty. Maybe the Jews are a little dirty.
Yeah,
Let's give them their own section of the town.
Yeah, Martin Niemöller, he kind of gave some ground to some of the anti-Semitism a little bit. And then he woke up. He woke up and he realized, and he joined Bonhoeffer's Confessing Church, but it was too late. By the time he woke up, it was too late. He spent some time in a concentration camp. He survived the war, okay? And later, after the war, he famously penned these words. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak up because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak up for me. I told you earlier I was going to give you a truth bomb about the abortion pill and RU486. We can dive down that whole rabbit hole another time, but here's a short truth bomb. And the reason I'm saying this is to say the liberal establishment and the abortion industry are not so far disconnected from the Nazis. And the same type of eugenics philosophy. The abortion pill, RU486, okay, RU486. The RU stands for Roussel Uclof. It's a French company that invented the abortion pill. And then Bill Clinton brought it to America in the year 2000. Roussel Uclof, RU. That's where the RU comes from in the title of the abortion pill, RU486. Roussel Uclof emerged from the breakup of a German chemical company. Roussel Uclof has a majority shareholder named Hoechst AG. It's a German company, Hoechst AG. I think it's Hoeschcht. Hoechst AG is the majority shareholder of Roussel Uclof. Hoechst AG emerged from the breakup of a German chemical company known as IG Farben. IG Farben is the company infamous for creating a cyanide gas known as Zyklon B. Zyklon B is the gas that was used to poison Jews in Nazi concentration camps. So Hoechst AG simply shifted from creating poison to murder Jews to creating the very poison to murder babies in the RU486 abortion pill. It's the same company. That I could do this for an hour. I could do this with an hour for you, and maybe we'll do it another time. But it doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist to recognize that the leftism, secular progressivism, humanism, whatever you want to call it, it is in the same intellectual, philosophical, and political tradition as eugenics and the Nazis.
I'm convinced. I scratched the surface on Margaret Sanger, and I'm like, shit. We are in big fucking trouble with her. What a mess.
So the point is this, to connect it back to Jane Fonda. Yeah. It does not make you a hysterical conspiracy theorist who's trying to rile people up into a frenzy to believe that those who murder the unborn, you know what, they might also murder the born. And you know what, they might actually take their revolutionary agenda against anyone who poses a threat to their political regime or stand against their agenda.
Oh, the socialists will stack bodies like cordwood. They don't give a fuck. Who's the best GOP presidential candidate to protect life?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'm a political pragmatist, and so I will vote for the GOP candidate simply because they always are the only ones who stand a chance. I'm not going to split the vote, but if I could just pick, literally pick any of the people running is the strongest. Actually, I think Ted Cruz said he's not running this time, but in terms of who I believe and I trust would probably make the abolition of abortion their highest political priority, because if you don't get the right to life right, you won't get any other rights right. And so the longer we delay the protection of the unborn, the sooner our own rights will actually be forfeit as well. And that's the truth bomb. I believe that. But I would say Ted Cruz has always taken the abolition of abortion pretty seriously.
What about Vivek? What about Vivek?
Yeah, I've been following him. He's very smart. I think he speaks a little above the layperson's ability to understand him, but he's very sharp and bright. I believe he's pro-life, but I don't know if I've heard enough on like actually.
So that's a deal breaker for you.
His political solution. Well,
you would never vote for a pro-choice person ever, no matter what.
So this is actually an interesting question. If I only had two choices, right? Because politics is the art of of possibles, right? Like what are the possible solutions we have in a self-governing republic? Like, whoever the candidate is, let's say I don't like them. It's at the end of the day in 2024, it's going to be them or the Democrat candidate, what I mean?
Right.
Nominee. And so like, I'm a realist, I'm a political pragmatist. And like, if I'm left with this really crappy choice, let's just say for some reason, we get this like GOP nominee who's like super against big pharma, super for parental rights and education, right? All these great things, but then they're like pro-choice. I'm going to vote for that person when the only other option is the Democrat nominee who's going to continue to push and to try to enshrine abortion law through point of birth, attack pro-lifers, let Merrick Garland, our attorney general, arrest pro-life sidewalk counselors, force religious institutions to fund abortion through subsidies through their healthcare plans. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to pick the crappy Republican who's going to do less damage than the absolute Marxist totalitarian Democrat nominee who's going to do way more damage. So just to like carry your thought experiment to like the conclusion you were looking for, no, I could vote for a pro-choice Republican when the only other solution is worse. But we're talking about like a really crappy situation, right? Where it's like really is the lesser.
Do those exist? Do Republicans exist who are pro-choice? Do those exist?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Plenty of pro-choice Republicans at the state level, and even many in the House of Representatives at the federal level are pretty bad too. But largely the party will tend to align against the radical left when needed. And so like we can still get a lot of good done with the Republican Party, even though I despise the GOP, and so many Republicans today are so spineless when it actually matters. So I'm no like political hack. I just want the best candidate. But right now, Ron DeSantis is incredible. Trump, you got to give him credit. He overturned Roe v. Wade. Although I don't like what he was saying recently about how like DeSantis and some of the Republicans he said they're being too pro-life and it's going to hurt us at the ballot box. I didn't really like that statement. But you got to give the guy credit. He overturned Roe v. Wade through his 3 Supreme Court nominees, and they hate him. And we just arrested the political opposition, and we all know they would not have done what they're doing to him if he was not running.
And we had peace on earth when Trump as president.
So, anyways, we're going off on a tangent now. But
let me ask you this:
the best pro-life candidate. Well, right now, I think DeSantis is doing really good stuff, and he seems to be pretty unapologetic about even the push for pro-life legislation in Florida that other Republican governors around the country haven't gone as far as him. So, anyways,
let me ask you this real quick: what happened to do we know what happened to Biden and Obama in terms of the fact that they used to come out and say that they're against gay marriage, and now they're letting trannies dance naked on the lawn at the White House?
Good for you. You've seen those clips, huh? Yep.
I don't understand how they changed so much without like.
We have clips.
I mean, I've changed a lot too, but why don't they?
We have clips of Biden. We have clips of both Clintons.
Yeah.
We have clips of Chuck Schumer. We have clips of Nancy Pelosi. We have old clips of all these people saying that marriage is a union between one man and one woman.
Why did they change? They got enlightened.
They wake up every morning. They walk outside. They lick their finger. They stick it up into the air.
It can't be that.
And they see which way the wind is blowing. Now,
I believe you think it's just like that. You don't think they've evolved.
Absolutely.
You don't think he's just like, hey,
money, power, hungry, grubbing politicians. Now, there is a breed of politician. We all know these kind of people. Who are true revolutionary, authentic activists, meaning like they have deep convictions. They're very wrong and dangerous. Who am I talking about? Bernie Sanders. I'm talking about actually, I think AOC. I think she's a true revolutionary. I think she actually believes the crap that she's spouting and selling. The squad,
which is crazy because she doesn't say anything.
Remember the squad? Members of the squad? What were their names? Anyways, all those
Dumb and Dumber. Can't say anything.
Yeah. So there are some politicians who I believe have really deep convictions, and they're very dangerous, actually. But then there's the kind of politician that really just goes whichever way the wind blows. They want power. They want money. They want influence. They want respect. They want to be famous. Joe Biden has wanted to be president since he was a fetus, I'm convinced. I mean, the guy was one of the youngest members to enter the Senate. I think it was like 30 or 31. Did you know he's been in American politics for 50 years? Did you know that? I mean, geez Louise. The guy has wanted to be president his entire life. Now he is. Why would he give that up or step aside even when he has obvious dementia and should just be enjoying his last few years with his family? Why? Because he's wanted to be president his entire life. He wants power. So yeah, a lot of politicians, I think Americans kind of have to like realize this and wake up to this. Like a lot of the Democrat politicians that they really love and respect and are almost like saints to them. Like, you remember the religious veneration that Obama received for so many years. Many of them are just power hungry, money grubbing politicians. And those clips kind of prove that, don't they? The internet's forever. Thank you, internet. It's like, here they are sounding like a conservative Christian. Fast forward, here they are looking like a Marxist revolutionary.
I don't know what happened. I wish they would explain. If they could explain their evolution of thought, it would be helpful. Like, hey,
and they never will, right? Because then they'd have to be admitting, I change my political opinions based off of where the culture is going, so I can keep getting votes and keep getting my campaign funded. So.
Hey,
anyway,
dude, thank you.
But thank you.
Yeah, you're always welcome on the show. As soon as the algorithm, you just set me back 2 years, and I'll be back on again.
Sevan. Well, you're very kind, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for reaching out.
You're a wonderful mind. You have wonderful clarity. You're a wonderful mind. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I enjoy our conversations, and maybe we'll do it in person one day when I'm in California. But I'll send you the I'll send you this undisputed historical facts of the resurrection. And then if you ever want to just like pick the brain of someone and challenge someone and play devil's advocate and push and argue with a friend of mine whose entire career in ministry is to defend Christianity, just text me and I'll make an intro and they'd love to come on. But I appreciate your clarity and your honesty and your hunger for the truth. And so
awesome. Thanks, dude. Means a lot to me.
All right. Go have fun skating.
All right, brother. Yeah, you know. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Fucking Trish. I saw what you said in there. Just dig that shit out. Trish, who do you want me to have on? Heidi will be sending birthday nudes. No, not that. He only has people on from the hard right. Who do you want me to have on? What lefty fucker do you want me to have on? To tell me. Send me a DM. Send me their Instagram account. I love him. He was a little on fire today. It was a little much for me to handle today, but because I wanted to like direct the conversation more. But I really enjoy listening to him. He's just such a clear thinker. But I can't make the leap with him to faith, to what he calls faith. I can make the leap to my own faith. I don't need to. None of that stuff matters to me. That they found Jesus's tomb or none. I see what he's trying to do, the iPhone thing, but it doesn't work. That doesn't work on me. So what? So what if this 100 people saw him? When I had long hair and I was 20, people thought I was Jesus. They'd be like, "Oh, again, what the fuck?" Trying to figure out what I'm going to do now. They did not find Jesus's tomb. Oh, well, he says they did. But either way, like, it doesn't matter to me. Like that's not the that's not a that does nothing to me. That does nothing for me. Renata Novantana. Who will have Dave on first, Sevan or Talking Elite Fitness? Well, I don't. Who gave it? I appreciate the question. I was going to say something mean, but I respect you. I feel like a king right now. I'm so excited. I was so excited about that show yesterday. I'm so excited about Friday's show. I'm going to go look at the numbers right now. Jerk myself off a little bit. On yesterday's show I did with John Young and Tyler Watkins, and who else was on there? Someone. Oh shit! Yeah, of course. This show's already been flagged. Of course it has been. We didn't even say anything crazy. Does anyone think we said anything crazy? Yeah. Wow. Yesterday's show is massive already. What a title! Dave is back, and all of a sudden everyone wants to listen. Oh my goodness. I did listen to I listened to that. Did you guys listen to that Around the Horn show? Lauren Cleo has a show on Talking Elite Fitness where there were a bunch of people on it, and it was Kotler and Khalifa and that dude that she always does stuff with, the blonde haired dude, big dude. I can't remember his name. And there was someone else on there. Tim Paulson. So Tim Paulson, Jason, another Morning Chocolate guy, and Justin Kotler. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was pretty cool. The whole different perspectives. It was interesting. Kotler's perspective, like, because he's got just like, he's pretty myopic. He's got the myopic. He's got the the 100-foot view. And then Jason's done it all. He's been the affiliate relationship owner with Dave, the athlete with Dave, just all the different relationships with Dave. And Jason added some good perspective to it. Dude, Jason and Dave have had a fucking tumultuous relationship. Well, what's crazy, too, is Lauren asked all three of those guys the question, like, what do you think about what's going on? And didn't ask Jason. And then Jason circled back and answered. He's like, hold on, I want to answer that shit. And he's the most knowledgeable out of the bunch. It was cool to hear what Tim and Kotler and the other dude said. But Jason's was the most relevant. And they almost fucked up and didn't ask Jason. That would have been a huge mistake. Good on Jason for circling back and adding like a really big view. That was important. And then I watched the show later, by the way, which I recommend that first show. I do not recommend the show with Lauren and Tommy and Sean and Brian after. That show was fucking horrible. Absolutely horrible. My goodness. I don't like talk. There was this where you just accept presuppositions. I think it was Lauren just kept hammering the point of all of these presuppositions about Dave, that maybe he was closed-minded or didn't accept change or wasn't open to feedback or all this shit over and over and over without giving us one fucking example. At some point, it just becomes slander. It's that woke fucking morning talk-up shit. Hey, dude, don't tell me someone's an asshole. Tell me that they fucking threw a rock through a fucking window of a pregnant woman's house. Like I need to know. God, that show was horrible. That was the ass show. My God, that was embarrassing. I was embarrassed for Brian. I was embarrassed for all of them. I was embarrassed. They're all when those four are in their portals of where they should exist in their capabilities, they're fucking all superstars. Tommy, Sean, Lauren, and Brian. But man, that show was fucking an embarrassment. That was horrible. They should pull that show down, a matter of fact. I wonder how many views that has. That is a mess. But the one with Jason, Lauren's great at just asking questions and pushing the show forward. I like that. Ask questions, push the show forward. And Brian needs to be in a place where he can talk. Let Brian talk for fun. Like, he can't be in there sharing his opinion with those other guys. So those guys, just let Brian talk. Brian's great at talking. Just give him he needs Windows segments to talk for like 3 to 5 minutes at a time. So anyway, I think I'm spot on with that. Don't make me accept premises. I need examples. Dave was closed-minded. He got feedback from 32 athletes and blah, blah, blah. And then he didn't. They told him they didn't want the climbing wall, and he still put it in there. And so then we as the viewer can be like, okay, he's listening, or fuck the athletes. Like, we can decide. I don't need someone to tell me that he's closed-minded. Fucking insanity. It's just shitty reporting. It's not even reporting. It's like almost like, hey, dude, you guys Lauren already hit it out of the park with fucking Paulson, Khalipa, Kotler, and the other dude. Like, why did you guys even go on? Ding dongs. Trish, I love Hiller, but I don't think that CrossFit is looking directly at him. I think there's a sea change that is inevitable. Anyone with above average intelligence knew that thing had to circle back. Hiller's been kind of beating that drum for 2 years, though, since he came, or a year since he came on the scene, making connections to videos he made that he thinks have affected change. At first, I thought it was kind of weird. Now I'm used to it now. First, I was like, geez, you really want credit for that. But now I accept it. I think it's fun. It's funny. I don't agree with this. Tommy and Sean need to get the fuck out and let Lauren and Brian run the show. I think that Tommy... I think Lauren and Brian should do their... I think they would do a great show. She asked questions and he just pushed forward, and she just kept pressing forward. And I like all this stuff. I think Tommy and Sean do great also. But just the four of them together yesterday was just atrocious. Fucking atrocious. There's a point there where Sean was talking about fucking Justin's vision, and not sure if Dave has vision as a cohesive, as the games being a cohesive unit with the rest of the company and being able to work well with the rest of the company. I was like, holy shit, dude. They'd give a fucking example of why you think that. Sevan's chat proves that there was more organic grassroots frustration building up over the past 3 years. I watch the one, Allison, if you're gonna watch the one with Lauren interviewing the four people. That one was actually good, even though Kotler got under my skin. Like I like him. Like it was a you know, he's adding a perspective to it. I don't, and I have my own bias too. I don't give so much a fuck about the athletes and the way these other people do, or the concern about like people being notified or important comms. I don't give a fuck. Like, I watch UFC and they're not like telling me before the event that they change the size of the ring, or which they do. You know what I mean? Or that all of a sudden the Monster Energy drink logo is on the bottom and it's green, and they should have told the athletes that, because some athletes have an aversion to green, and just shit, like, fuck off. Get the fuck out there and run. That's like, it's more how I feel. And I don't watch the weigh-ins if it's not Dana White doing it. And I just want Dave to go out there and just be Dave. And I know he cares like a lot. Like, Justin probably cared a lot too. And I know Adrian cares a lot. Like, they don't take this thing. And so I just want to just see him go out there and just be a dick and get shit done. Get in the gate. Close the gate. 3, 2, 1, go. I don't know what this means, Gazan, but I love Gazan. So, Cornholio, I continued to watch to see how bad it would get. Not disappointed. Yeah, it was a train wreck. It was actually a little bit embarrassing for me to watch, especially because they hit that first one out of the park. But maybe just a bad show. Maybe just like, hey, you guys had one bad show. And you know, the thing is too, is like, everyone has their own thing, right? Like, clearly Hamilton Road and Talking Elite Fitness want to be organized. Like, they're going for a certain look. They want to be organized. Brian Spin wants to be fast, right? So if you want, like, you go to Instagram, go to Barbell Spin, to open it up and click the bell and do instant notifications. That's the account you want immediate information from, because he knows everyone and everything, and he's going to be getting information too fast. Talking Elite Fitness is organized, clean interviews, like more of that ESPN look. Brian, we'll see. I guess we'll see what Brian Friend is going to be doing, but his is just like analysis, like just reading his shit is just analysis. Morning Chalk Up, who the fuck? It's just schlock. CrossFit Games Media is just like, fuck, can I keep my job? Like everyone has their spot, right? And so Morning Chalk Up or Talking Lean Fitness those people there aren't designed to speculate. That's the Sevan Matosian show. That's the Sevan Podcast. So you got Sean and Tommy and Lauren and Brian's a little more flexible, but they kind of got their notes up in the air. They're the journalists, and they must do the adequate investigating and curating and aggregating and vetting of the and so they put themselves in a situation where they couldn't succeed, like just like like me and John and who else was on the show? Me, John, Tyler, Souza. Like we're made to speculate and talk shit and throw shit. We're monkeys. Those guys aren't. They have their collared shirts on and stuff. They're very our correspondents in Eastern Europe are. So they were just out of their lane. I think that's what happened. So that was it. They got out of their lane. They got excited. They wanted to do a show. They got out of their lane, and I guess they could learn. They could drop the rules that they put up about themselves and kind of have a little more fun. I don't know if that spends any of their equity though, right? The equity that they're trying to build of being whatever image they're trying to give off. Then if they start doing the speculation shit, I don't know. It was pretty funny that they kind of had that rule. They started there was like some show like we don't know what's going on and we shouldn't speculate and then speculate. Oh shit. Seth already sent me the 12 facts that prove the resurrection. Yeah, none of this. This doesn't prove anything to me. I'll give it a whirl though. I appreciate him sending it to me. Sunday became the primary day of worship. How is that one of the facts that prove the resurrection? Tomb was empty a few days later. Oh, really? Oh, really, Trish? Oh, really? It's like that? Oh, now you're back in the game. I don't trust his facts after he presented a misunderstanding as fact. Oh, Seth? Dude, he's a lot of information. He's a hose, a big fire hose of information. I'm ready to be converted. Christian Kettler, there's no selfie with Jesus on the cross. I wanted to ask him some other shit. Like, what was Jesus like as a kid? Do you think he ever like cock swabbed someone's shit? Like, you know what I mean? As a joke or like, never, he never cock swabbed. Oh, Darwin never recanted his work. I started to look that up. Is that true? I started to look that up. Recanted. Yeah, I agree. Well said. Well said, Clock. He didn't present it as fact. Trish has really changed his sentiment, his behavior. Trish must be off his meds. He's acting like a dude now. He used to act like an old lady. Travis, there's a show on Talking Elite Fitness. I can pull it. I can show you. Hold on. Let me see. With that Lauren Khalil posted. It's fucking good. I liked it. I didn't like it, and that's why I liked it. Like when I watched it, I was getting all fucking pissed and shit. But it actually is a good show. And when I reflect on it, this one here, Dave Castro replaces. That's the guy. What's that guy's name? Oh, Dex Hopkins. This show with 19 hours to go watch. This show, I if you want to fucking revisit morning chalk up schlock, watch this. TEF 252. That is just horrible. But this show was good. This Dave Castro replaces Justin Berg as new leader of excuse me, as new leader of CrossFit sports team. Oh, man. I don't want to get started again talking about why that show was so fucked up. I can't stand presuppositions. I can't stand you telling me bad stuff about someone without telling me what they did. You sound like an asshole. Bailey Walker, he presents self-serving facts but ignores facts that are against his point. He just talks confidently so people think he must be telling the truth. He hasn't I don't know if it's interesting you say that. I'm not sure if I agree with you there, but he has a veneer about him that's very interesting. I have lots of thoughts on it about his veneer, how he presents. He's a fascinating person. I should do a show where I don't talk about abortion at all and just ask him about him. He's a fascinating human being. Huge influence from his mom. I remember in the first show he talked about that. Oh, this is some shallow shit. I'll watch Amanda Hari's video instead. She's a lot more pretty to look at. Who, than me? What you talking about? Allison NYC. Interesting equals obnoxious, the smiling and laughing. That might be a protection mechanism because he's just bombed so much. I mean, that dude wakes up in the morning, just steps into the fucking crossfire, right? Dude, his favorite topics are where you were before you were born, where you go after you die, and killing babies. I don't know if favorite's the right word, but he's an expert in those things. He's rehearsed. He's polished in that discussion. And it's that's a fuck ton to take on. I just come over here and hang out with you guys. Wait for Hiller to come on and save the show. Dude, if you really are drunk, by the way, that's a Dr. Ruth Westheimer in Sevan's therapist's picture, who I was a huge fan of as a young man. I loved listening to her show. I used to listen to it. I used to bring a radio into my bed. She was on an AM radio station, and I would listen to it. I'm drunk and naked, and it's only 11 a.m. Oh, I like that Dex dude. Dex is hard to take. I liked him. I like him. I'm glad we agreed Collar is a giant pussy. I'm not agreeing with that. Hey, listen. I don't know. Why can't you just, I mean, dude, I'm a fucking Dave loyalist to the fucking like nth degree, but I respect the fact that he's singularly focused on ripe. Ooh, that was intense. I appreciate the fact that he's singularly focused on protecting his athletes, what he thinks is best for his athletes, even though he's wrong. He's wrong on it. Dave is what's best for them. If you want the sport to grow, Dave's the guy. I'm telling you. There's no doubt. Seth is unapologetically anti-abortion. Why can't he just be? Why does it have to be anti-abortion? It's not something that I'm used to seeing. I admire his commitment. I learned a lot. Yeah, I'm not used to seeing it either. And it's cool because it's something that people don't want to talk about. Hey, if someone's like completely pro-abortion, like they're full baby killer, and they want to come on the show, I'll be more than happy to have them come on the show, by the way. Isn't it crazy? Like, you would think that if you were pro-life, that it's a valid thought to want to kill pro-choicers because they kill babies. You think it's valid? Like if someone was like, "Hey, this year I'm going to kill 800,000 babies in the United States," you would think, "Well, I got to kill that person," right? But for some reason, it's not like that. It's the other way around. It's the people who are killing the 800,000 babies that are willing to kill the people who are trying to stop it. Why? Because they're killers. That's what they do. That's how they handle shit. It's fascinating. I do not. I don't scratch my butt. I never scratch the Cheerio. But if I did, I probably would smell my finger. That's true. Trish. Oh, Trish. I admire the Taliban's commitment to their values. Wow. Wow. I see what you did there. Okay. So you think, oh, here we go. Oh, this is going to be good. This is a caller we've never had before. Hold on 1 second. I don't have the phone hooked up. Oh, good. How are you?
Excellent. I'll be quick. I was on the top.
I was listening to a piece of content this morning where one of the panelists was saying they think it's a step backward for the CrossFit scene because Dave is so alienating and has iced out so many people that his presence coming back could continue to alienate some of the people closest to CrossFit, the way that he would, play favorites perhaps. I was wondering what you thought about Dave's communication, how it would affect the next chapter, or if he's going to do anything different in the way that he interacts with the athletes and employees.
It will alienate. I would love an example of that, but it will alienate people who want to sit around and talk about things that are just complete horseshit. And it will invigorate and attract people who want to work hard and grow the sport. And that is a not just my opinion. That's fact. Oh, you hung up on me. I've seen that. The people who want to work hard and get shit done, people who want to get back on ESPN, get back to the road to the games, get back to the behind the scenes, get back to the Netflix big exposure for the movies. Those are the people who are going to be attracted to Dave because they know shit gets done. People who want to be proud of crowning the fittest. They want to be able to stand behind the brand because they know it's fucking strong. The people who know that CrossFit makes the strongest mamas and papas in the world, that it's good for your kids, that it's a place for families. Those are the people he's going to fucking attract. He's going to reinvigorate. The people that get alienated by that, who cares? He's not going to make a stand on fucking abortion. And people who get alienated by the fact that he has a TDC Hunts Instagram account where he shoots guns, like, fuck those people. Who cares? Does not matter. That and hey, that's going to be that's what's going to be so valuable about him. There's going to be he is going to be able to distinguish between what's important and what's not to move the sport forward. He's not going to be spread and be like, I'm listening to you. Oh, well, thank you. If he does do that, I cannot picture Dave doing that. But if he does try to do that, pick up that man. At some point, the leadership's going to have to decide, do they want this thing to fucking explode like the UFC has with a strong fucking leader? Or do they want to pussyfoot around and try to appease everyone? You can't do it. You're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna just fucking fumble the ball. He's gonna stand for some shit, and it's gonna be integrity and honesty, and it's gonna be the kind of thing. It's like whether you like him or not, you're gonna be like, well, there's integrity and honesty, and you're gonna see that transcends your concern whether the fucking sled should have been 200 pounds or 100 pounds. Or whether the girls should have gone first in the final heat or the men should have gone. Or whether there's enough fucking Hispanics in there or fucking enough, you're not gonna. The people who really give a shit aren't gonna care about that. They're gonna be like, wow, he has integrity and values, and we know what's going on. Dave is very black and white. There will be no question or confusion about his vision and direction. Exactly what CF fucking needs, and they became the next Titanic submarine. Yeah, that is. There won't be any confusion. You're right. He's not going to try to be like, okay, I'm going to try to fit everyone in here, and then the whole thing fall apart. It's not going to be like that. I'm guessing if it's the old Dave, maybe he got soft and turned into a pussy, or maybe he's going to be like pushed around by corporate douchebags. Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, whoever bought the company is like realizing, oh fuck, we're going to have to fucking buckle down and take the UFC route. This isn't going to go the way of the NBA or the NFL, where you can just straight fucking be racist fucking pieces of shit and it succeed. It's not going to, the CrossFit is not going to work like that. It's too little. It still needs to be, it can sink still. It can still go under. It can go away. I know some people don't think it can, but it can. And especially with the fucking way the economy is right now. The economy is fucked. The economy is fucked. I'm very curious what's going to happen with sponsorship. There's something very, 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 very important that you guys either know or should know. They have to have a fucking clothing sponsor. They have to have a Reebok or a Nike or a Noble. They have to, or else the whole thing changes overnight. And with Noble fucking circling the bowl, Noble, with Noble circling the bowl, man, the games will be a weird fucking creature. Tier's a mom and pop company. I think Tier's like a $30 million company. But man, someone's got to be able to print all those shirts. Someone get the shoes. Someone's got to have the infrastructure in place to get all that clothing shit and all that shit organized. Born Primitive, Born Primitive clothes, Tier shoes. Victos. That's the thing. You're concerned about the influence of private equity. Yeah, they're going to have to sack it up. They're going to have to be like, if they don't sack it up, they're going to fucking lose it. They're going to have to fucking sack it up and be like, okay, we're going to let the seal run this shit. And then Dave's going to have the balls to do it, to try to pussyfoot around. He's going to have the balls to do it, and they're going to have to let him do it. He's going to have to tell people to fuck off and stuff. That will galvanize the base. The majority of people want that. I'm telling you. The majority of people want that. And the truth is what the athletes say and their coaches say is the least irrelevant, least important. Absolutely least. It's like it's like that dumb shit when people say safety first. Our biggest priority is safety. Like, what? Event number 1 at the CrossFit Games, the cotton ball toss. In this event, we have chosen cotton balls so that no one will get hurt. It's like just, yeah, Dave won't do any idiot talk like that. Yeah, when we push human, we're not trying to hurt anyone, but when we push human beings to their absolute fucking limit, the chances of people getting hurt increase. I mean, Greg said that. You increase cardiovascular capacity, and you are automatically putting yourself in risk of orthopedic calamity. Yeah, cock and ball toss. I like that. Cock and balls. And so you're gonna have the CrossFit Games, and you're gonna have fucking the PZFZ, that thing that not Fraser. Who's the other F guy? Fikowski is in charge of. Be like, well, we're concerned that the net is too high. Shut the fuck up and get over the net. I don't think Fikowski really said that, by the way. I'm just like that we just need Dave. Like, hey, this is what you don't want to do this event. Don't do this event. And then the thing like that happened to Pat Panchik, Scott Panchik. He wanted the fucking ropes cut, and they didn't cut the ropes. I think Dave would have just told him, cut the fucking ropes. Dave's the kind of person when we're about to go live on ESPN and something's not right, he's like, no, this is going to be right. So, Pat Panchik, yeah, Scott Panchik, Scott, Saxon, and Spencer. No help today, huh? I was hanging out to see if I could get any help. I guess someone called. And hung up, got disconnected. You know who's coming on tomorrow? Greg Glassman's coming on tomorrow. Oh, Greggy. I think Greg's going to start coming on once a week. Oh, Nelly. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm gonna beg. Oh, I'll see if I'll text Dave as soon as it's over and see if he'll come on the show Friday, the Friday evening CrossFit Games update show. See if he'll come on. Not for long. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah, that Colton rolling in that paper street dough. Yeah, I want to know. Like ask Colton what he thinks about Dave coming back. He probably gives 2 fucks. Because he just wants to win. And at the end of the day, that's the sentiment. Fuck it. You know what I'm going to do? Before I go, I'm going to play this. Here we go. I don't know if I've played this before, but I had a bunch of clips ready for the Seth Gruber show, but fucking Seth monopolized the time. Here we go.
And your lanyard's still on from it, and there's a photograph on it. What is that?
It's a photograph of a baby's ultrasound.
Why is that? And that you designed that?
Yes.
Why? What does that mean?
It just represents life. I'm pro-life.
Boy, so you wear it on a badge. What kind of response do you get? And good, amen. I agree.
I don't care about people's responses. I care about the fact that there's more Black babies being aborted than born in New York City at this point. That 50% of Black death in America is abortion. So I really don't care about people's responses. I perform for an audience of one, and that's God.
Just landed, and your lanyard's still on.
I perform for an audience of one, and that's God. Hey, Travis. Oh, at Vindicate. I need to call Travis. You know, you guys, Travis made this this backdrop for me. Oh. Shit. Why? How do I make it so you guys can see what's in the background? What button do I push here? Yeah, that's good, right? Oi. How about this one? And what if I stop playing the banner? No, shit. I need it so you can see the sponsors. I need it so you can see Paper Street Coffee and California Peptides. Will peptides work for back pain? Dude, they have peptides for everything. I'm going to have a peptides expert on very soon. And he's going to come on. Him and Hiller are going to come on, and we're going to talk about peptides. And that website supposedly is up, California Peptides. You can just go on there and order peptides. CAPeptides.com. Oh, yeah, shit. It's up. Here we go. They got peptides for fucking everything. Look at. That's the one I need to take. BPC 157. Hiller said he would help me inject that on air. Available on subscription. You can subscribe to it. This is crazy. Yeah, just start researching peptides. I'll have an expert on, and then you just go to this website. Here, I'll put the link in the chat. Order away. I think if you use code word Sevan, you get free shipping. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's true. And I don't know. I'm sure there's one that's for your back. You can buy one time, or you can subscribe. Oh, here we go. Mike Poolboy, I use peptides for my giant cock syndrome. It helps shrink it to a normal size. Thank God for California hormones. There you go. It's CAPeptides.com. Why is that girl laughing and smiling at that guy? What does she know? That's a trippy photo, right? No doctor required for peptides. Why can't they be in pill form? I think that there are. No, you're right. Liquid. Here's some powder. Hey, Ken, why can't you snort them? Why can't I snort it? They have 25 peptides. Sort by price. I just want the most expensive one. I want that one, whatever that is. Yeah, Hiller said that if I shot that shit into my fucking bicep, it would help. That whatever that veiny that wire is, that tendon, that ligament. Do you know how many times I've said it's my fucking bicep and people keep fucking sending me DMs saying, hey, I can help you fix your elbow? Listen, you jerk offs, it's not my fucking elbow. Never said it was my elbow. Okay, so we saw Kanye, what he thinks about abortion. He doesn't like, he specifically doesn't like black babies dying. I wanted to ask him what the profile is of an abortion doctor, if there's like there's a profile for it. All right. Oh, shit. Bailey Walker, I listen every day and literally just thought it was your elbow. Okay, fine. I'm a bad communicator. I apologize. When I've been bitching, been a whiny little bitch about my bicep, not my elbow. I apologize for those of you who were praying for my elbow. Please, no wonder my elbow's been feeling so good. Oh, shit. Here we go. Bicep bone connected to the elbow bone. Get the fuck out of here with that, Eric. No bicep tear. Well, maybe. I was lowering a 70-pound dumbbell. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah. Thank you. Hiller was the elbow. Sevan was the bicep. Yeah. Truth. Sevi saw a doctor and they told him to drink canola oil. That is the truth. All right. I'm feeling my nipples. That means I got to go. Oh, jiu-jitsu instructors here. All right. Okay. See you guys tomorrow. Unless something crazy happens today. Right? Like what if someone else gets fired? Then I'll see you very soon. Okay. Bye-bye.